There you go. Thanks. Sorry. Oh, you're good. You're totally fine. You're fine. You gotta click. Got it. You got it? Do you got it? We got it. Okay, got it. Good morning, everybody. Happy Friday. It's Friday. It's a big deal Friday. One, we're all together. Happy to see everybody. Two, there's a lot of really great things going on this weekend in Jacksonville, which we'll talk about at the end of the program. So that's exciting. And most exciting for myself, and I think for most people in this room, is that we have Dr. Wynn with us today. Dr. Wynn is the Vice President and Chief Diversity Officer at the University of North Florida. I'm going to read a little bit of his bio. He is a licensed mental health counselor, a certified addiction professional, and an associate professor of clinical mental health counseling. His research focuses on intersectionality of identity and traumatic stress, with an emphasis on marginalized social identity groups and in the ways in which culturally diverse LGBTQ plus people negotiate their identities and manage their health. You guys, to have someone as amazing, he's a steward in the community. He is a champion for all people. We talked about this last time when we were all together. One of the things that makes Jacksonville important and downtown important is that we're all humans. We all have a heartbeat, right? Regardless of creed, religion, color, sexual identity, like we're all human beings. And Dr. Wynn's going to talk to us today about what that actually looks like and how we can be better stewards and champions, and maybe where some of our shortfalls are and what we can do about that moving forward. We are truly, truly, truly blessed to have you this morning, Dr. Wynn. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Laura. It is a pleasure to be here. And my intention is to do less talking and really more facilitating. As you heard, I am a mental health counselor, and counselors facilitate. So I actually want to hear from you this morning. I do have a few thoughts to motivate our conversation and motivate our discussion, and I have some notes here. I have not committed all of this to memory, so forgive my green notes. And my paper is green only because this was the paper that was in my printer, and I didn't realize it. But so I just said, you know what? I'll just go with a pop of color this morning. So I'm always interested in conversations about diversity, equity, inclusion, belonging, and justice. Think about that. There's a lot of places we could go. On Sunday, our nation celebrates Juneteenth. Yay! I see somebody's familiar with Juneteenth. Juneteenth is a commemoration of the day in 1865 when enslaved persons in Galveston, Texas, were finally made aware that President Abraham Lincoln had issued the Emancipation Proclamation 2 years earlier to end slavery in the United States. 2 years earlier, the president issued this Emancipation Proclamation. Even on that day in 1865, that people who were enslaved were still not free because slavery wasn't officially abolished until the passing of the 13th Amendment on January 31st, 1865, and its ratification on December 6th, 1865. So just, yeah, I know, right? So think about that for a moment. 2 years prior, the president issues this proclamation. Imagine all the work. Talk about networking, Joanne, and collaborating and working. I would imagine it wasn't that easy to get this done in those times. And then 2 years later, people in Galveston, Texas says, oh, this was a thing that happened here. And then it still was another several months before people who were enslaved in Texas were free. So in remembering this day, we not only recognize the struggles of the past, but also the courage, resilience, hope of so many people who lifted each other up. It is a time to support and celebrate the accomplishments of African American people, and a time to reflect on the challenges and the inequities that still exist to this day. June is also Pride Month. Yay! Some people know what that is. Dr. Tammy Hodo is the biggest fan in the room. And my friends. June is Pride Month, when the lives and contributions of lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender and queer people are celebrated. Pride was born out of a series of protests that began in the early morning hours of June 28, 1969, after a police raid on the Stonewall Inn, a gay bar in Greenwich Village in New York City. Now, these raids were not new, they were pretty routine. However, this one became particularly violent, and this fed up community fought back and did so for several nights. What we now know as Pride initially involved a march and a week of LGBT events, and then later expanded to an entire month that is acknowledged around the world. And just like I mentioned that challenges still exist for African Americans, challenges still exist for LGBTQ people. There are so many moments in history that are recognized as social justice milestones, as reckonings, as civil rights movements. I think about this current moment where social media has us, most of us, connected, where there's a resurgence in activism, and because of technology, we're all exposed to it. Where COVID has highlighted health disparities and economic downturns have magnified the gaps in privilege, power, and access. Where politics threaten our democracy rather than protect it. Reflecting on all of this makes me wonder, I wonder what if? What if there wasn't a need to fight for recognition? What if life conditions did not compel us to march for justice or engage in wars for freedom? What if the vestiges of slavery existed in history books and museums rather than in our city center? What if LGBTQ youth were validated and supported at home, at school, and online? What if our interactions with people who are different from us motivated curiosity rather than fear? What if our default position was inclusion? What if downtown is the place to gather, engage, and champion for every citizen of Jacksonville? What if? I believe it's important to embrace self-reflection. Take a look in the mirror. Engage in dialogue where we truly listen to each other's stories. Dialogue is different from debate. In debate, we're trying to promote our position. We want to win, if you will. There's usually a winner and a loser. In dialogue, we first seek to understand before trying to be understood. We approach a dialogue with the intention of being transformed and hopefully offering transformational opportunities to others. Dialogue is truly about growth and evolution. I believe it's important to celebrate the strength in our differences. See, we don't have to all be alike. That's not possible that we're going to be exactly alike. Look around. Look at all the beautiful diversity in this room. But we can celebrate what's different and unique and special about us. We can even disagree about things without there being hate and marginalization and manipulation. Juneteenth and Stonewall were indeed critical turning points in our nation's history. But let's not forget the work that remains. There's plenty of work to ensure justice for all around the world, in our nation, and right here in our own community. What do you think? What does this look like for you? What might get in the way of manifesting this vision of what ifs that I just laid out? How might you move beyond those barriers? Let's talk. What if? What if?
Thank you. I've contemplated a question that relates to what you just said. What is the basis for the fears that lead to people's concerns about the differences they imagine or see or feel in, across our communities? And I've wondered, what is the best pathway for us to go from where we are in, if you will, the small steps that help people transition and be open to changing themselves? And is there some kind of model that we as a community might be able to learn about together?
Thank you. The basis of fear. That is a big question. What came to mind immediately as you were asking that part of the question was that we learn fear. We learn to be fearful based on what we learn, what we're taught. So we're taught directly some things, and other things we glean from our own understanding by putting pieces together. Information is many times handed directly to us and told to us as truth, right? So we hear things about people who look like us, who act like us, and talk like us. We hear things and we learn things about people who don't look like us and think like us and talk like us. And the things that I think lead to fear are stereotypes, are negative perceptions about the other. We highlight things that might be mistakes or learning opportunities that people who look and think and live differently from us might experience. We all make mistakes, and it's part of the learning and development process. But when our mistakes for some of us are highlighted as this is part of a person's character, it reflects an entire group of people, then those messages live in our minds and in our hearts as we grow. And most of us are getting these messages at very early ages as we're still developing and trying to figure out the world. So they live in us. I like to talk about our value system. So we have beliefs, things that we can grasp and hold on to, thoughts that come in when we have experiences as we're moving out throughout the world. And sometimes, you can hear yourself talking to yourself. Like we all talk to ourselves, you know that, right? And that is a healthy thing. If you don't acknowledge the convert, it is. If I'm a mental health counselor, I'm telling you. And so if you don't acknowledge that you talk to yourself, then that's a great opportunity. Today is a great opportunity. Pay attention to your own dialogue. So sometimes we can grasp a thought that we're telling ourselves and ask ourselves, is this really true? Where did this come from? Why am I thinking about this? And why am I thinking this way? Other times, those things that we have learned about ourselves and the world around us are embedded in our value system, our belief system. So picture, if you will, I know I've spoken to a couple of veterans this morning already, a sea bag. Do y'all know what those sea bags are? I know you do. And so imagine as we go through life, we're all carrying this invisible sea bag, and we're putting images and pictures in this bag about what it means to be good, what it means to be bad, what it means to be smart, what it means to be a man, a woman, non-binary, what it means to be, the list goes on and on and on. So as we move through life and have these experiences, sometimes we don't capture a concrete thought, but our belief system kicks in. So we encounter a situation and we go, oh, I know, I have that picture in my bag. And this is all happening so quickly because this is a pretty sophisticated piece of machinery here. And I don't mean just mine, we all. I'll include myself in that, but we all have it. Pretty sophisticated. So this thing is happening quickly. It's happening rapidly. We don't know it. And so we're digging around in our bag and we go, oh, I know this calls for this person is dangerous. I'm going to cross the street because that's what's in my bag. You ever heard of people say, oh, he's coming out of his bag? It's so important for us to do an inventory of that bag because one of my favorite things to remember is to don't believe everything I think. Check it out. Just like you, everybody else, we do it. We all do it. We dig into that bag. We find out, oh, this is an image. I need to be afraid. I need to cross the street. I need to, whatever the issue may be. What's important to do to contribute to change is to do an inventory of that bag, is to look at what are those images? Where did they come from? Are they helpful? How about they be harming me and others? See, because we don't often realize that when we are in a space of promoting stereotypes, discriminating against other people, it harms us as well as the people it's directed at. Not only does it harm us individually, but it harms us collectively. So you actually are doing not only a favor to, I say a favor, you're not only doing good to others when you're doing an inventory of that bag and those beliefs and those values that might need to be updated, but you're also helping yourself. That's part of the second part of your question, right? How can we do this for others? And I think being an example, living as a person who is, self-reflective, who is open and willing to engage with others, particularly people who are different from us, people who are different from you. We use this term a lot, safe space, safe person, but I really believe that people feel a sense of safety when they are in your presence and you're open and you're willing to be more curious than fearful. I say this a lot about being on campus. Part of my job is to help move our culture forward on campus. And I talk a lot about belonging. And I want everybody who comes to our campus, whether you're an official Osprey or not, I want you to feel like UNF is a place for you. And I want UNF to be a place, and Jacksonville to be a place that when you see somebody who is very different from you, the first thing you think is, I want to get to know that person. I am curious about who they are. Does that respond to most of your question? I know we have another question, so I might come back. Okay, thank you, thank you. Yes, and help me with time, Laura. Okay.
18 years ago when I came, I went to the chamber when I got transferred here.
Mm-hmm.
I went to the chamber to do a study of the community in Jacksonville. However, 18 years ago, we're like in 2022.
Mm-hmm.
And for some reason, Jacksonville hasn't caught up with the diversity. We just won a DOJ complaint against the courthouse for domestic violence because they do not help people with other languages.
Mm.
And we have a very, very diverse community. However, the diversity, because this is what happens to me since I've been here. Oh, you're Hispanic. You must be Mexican. No, I'm not Mexican. You must be Puerto Rican. No, I'm not Puerto Rican. So since you're in diversity, how do you teach that even though we're an umbrella of Hispanics or even the Arabs, because they start to speak, trying to say, oh, un momento, por favor, to the Arabs, because we tend to look very different. But however, in the 18 years I've been here, it doesn't seem like it advances because we're still stuck. Oh, are you Mexican? And then when I tell them I'm Cuban, oh, I love black beans and rice. And so to me, it's insulting because I'm an educated Hispanic. I grew up in South Florida, by the way. That's why Jacksonville, I call it Mayberry on acid.
Okay.
It doesn't know how to appreciate our differences here.
Sure.
So how can we move forward? Because now we have a large influx of people from all over the world, or like I like to say, from real African, because we have real Africans that are in the Black count. The Caribbean Blacks are in the Black count. The Arabs are in the Black count. But however, it only reverts to either the white, because I'm in the white count, or the Blacks here, but the Blacks that I call as a symbol of this, just one zip code.
Okay.
Because when we had the coronavirus, not one swab went to the side of where immigrants live.
Wow. Your question was, how do we do this? You just did, and by educating, right? By sharing your experience and an insight. And I wonder if those moments where what we might call what you just described as a microaggression, or I love black beans and rice, are you willing to ask, what exactly do you mean by that? Okay, so you can appreciate food that might be associated with my culture, but is there more that you're trying to convey? Or may I help you understand more about what it means to be Cuban? Are you open? Are you willing to sit with those moments and engage in a dialogue if the situation allows? Wow. Mm. Mm-hmm. Okay. Right. Okay, tell me, wait a minute, wait. Let me just say, my husband of 20 years is from Puerto Rico. Macau, exactly. I'm gonna remind him of that flag thing today when I get home. Yeah. Well, of doing the work. So, well, let me just add to that. So, yeah, I did not mean to suggest that it was solely on you because it's not the responsibility of marginalized groups to take on educating the whole world. That's part of it, I think, because I think it's important for us to stay engaged. But I think another part of the solution is representation. That's the diversity piece, and how are Hispanic and Latino people represented in all aspects of Jacksonville life? And are there enough people who embrace their identity as Hispanics, as Latino, as Latinx? Are there enough people in all aspects of life, particularly in leadership, to really move that message forward and to represent? And my guess is no. And so that's important too. Representation is important. Oh, yes. Right. Sure. Mm-hmm. Right. Well, I think and I am so glad you are highlighting this in this space. And so another thing I would say is that your voice is so important in rooms like this and in other spaces. So keep sharing and highlighting these experiences and keep highlighting the opportunities for greater representation, for greater understanding. And I think that as more of us who don't look like you or identify with you as you like you do continue to examine our own bag, we become more open to promoting greater representation and again in all aspects of our life. I think I'm seeing.
Yeah, I know I've got about 3 or 4 more people that
okay.
are trying to get some questions, so I'm gonna try to
so
get, I'm gonna try to get to a few more people, okay?
Thank you so much.
So how many people in here are a parent? All right. I am blessed to say that I'm on the backside of that with a 26 and a 19-year-old, but can we say we learn so much from our children, way more probably from my experience than what I've taught them. My daughter taught me the hardest lesson of my life, and that is how to truly love and accept other people. When she began to make different life choices and openly came out as being gay, as her mom, I feared for her. I struggled. I want to protect my baby girl. And I hated every day her coming home and being called a boy or being bullied or whatever she was going through. You know, it it tears you apart. So I will say, and Dr. Wynn can probably 100% testify, in the answer is with our young people, right? So we can learn so much about how to love by looking not up to who we are raised by or who we admire in the community, but truly looking at the next generation, and they are who will teach us that valuable lesson in life. So
Thank you. Yes, thank you. And thank you. And I think it's so important for us as adults to make sure that our young people have a safe and nurturing environment to thrive and to educate us. So it's our job. So that fear that you fear for your daughter can be a really healthy thing if it motivates you to do whatever it takes to create a space, an environment that enables her to be validated, celebrated, and where she can thrive. Thank you for sharing that. Thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning, Dr. Hoda.
My question, Dr. Wynn, is how can we get people to understand that as others gain equity, that they're not losing something?
Right.
So that zero-sum game,
Mhm.
because I see that quite often. And the demographics we know are shifting.
Mhm.
And if everything's been fair and equitable, I'm so confused why there's this fear. If
Mm.
it's all been fair and equitable, why are people fearful? And then the understanding that this is not pie.
Mm.
So, that zero-sum game as people gain equity in the LGBTQI community, people of color, immigrants, and things like that, that other people aren't losing anything.
Right. You just did that. Yeah. Thank you. Question asked and answered. Right. I mean, I think it goes back to the first question of examining where this fear comes from, examining the fear. I mean, this fear of the other comes from somewhere. I personally don't believe we're born with it, right? Maybe we're born with it. Probably not. It's Maybelline. I don't know. But so I think that's part of the solution. It's acknowledging the strength in equity. When you have more hands on deck, if you will, if you have more people who are embracing power and have access to power, it helps us all move this ship further along. It's very challenging. It's very difficult living with a zero-sum mentality, because the fear will never go away if you think that by having a more equitable environment that you somehow are missing out, that if I share power space with someone else, that I have automatically lost something, especially something that I've worked hard for or gained. And I know many times with privilege, it's unearned, but still we own it. Outside of examining our own fear and intentionally embracing a new paradigm, a new philosophy about shared power, about the strength in diversity, the beauty of this tapestry, I think we're gonna be stuck for a while if we don't do that personal reflection and examination. What else any other thoughts about it? Because I think you have.
I just have to say,
Mm. Mm. Beautiful. Mm-hmm. 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 Right. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Right. 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 Thank you. That reminds me. I think we have to redefine success. We have to redefine professionalism. We have to redefine a lot. I've talked a lot about this when I'm thinking about how we interview and select candidates for positions, and we often talk about good fit. Well, does good fit actually mean that a candidate is going to contribute to the expansion of our space, our diversity, our thought space? Or does good fit mean you look like me, think like me, and act like me, and therefore you are a good fit? Because that doesn't quite cut it. So I think another part of the solution, Tammy, is rethinking a lot of the definitions that guide us, in particularly in the professional space. This thing called professionalism, and the thing that a way that someone dresses, a way that someone speaks, et cetera, the work that they've done and what they bring to the table, we either put it in this box of professional or unprofessional or too far out of the mainstream or whatever. I think we have to be willing to redefine what it means to be professional, what it means to have a significant, to make significant contributions as a staff member, as a faculty member, as a student. I know this may be slightly off topic a little bit, but it just comes to mind when we think about students who we admit to the University of North Florida. We have standards and people get all excited about high GPAs and test scores and so on and so forth. We recently had a student who was part of a really neat engineering project and presented to our board of trustees. And one of our vice presidents asked this group of students, why UNF? Why did you choose UNF? And so the two students, well, I'm from the area, I didn't want to leave, and they had all these. The last student to speak said, I had been in college before and I had some academic difficulties, and so I took some time off. And when I was ready to come back, UNF was the only school that gave me a second chance. And I just brought this up again in one of our leadership meetings. And I said, I know everybody was crying on the inside. I knew I was. And I said, that's the student who I want, alongside the others, to be on the poster for UNF, because we gave him a second chance when others wouldn't. We redefined what a potential successful UNF student is, and it wasn't defined by his past mistakes in his academic endeavors. And so I think we need to be willing to do that across the board. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Vanessa Gongora. It's my first time here, and amazing. Thank you, Dr. Wynn,
Thank
and
you.
the council. This is Gabriela. We both work at North Media. It's the only Spanish language family-owned media company. We have several radio stations. Sorry for the shameless plug.
I don't apologize.
Maybe someone recommended. But I am proud to say that, of course, the monolith, right? We're not a monolith. And I think that's reflected with our stations. We have Colombian, Mexican, Puerto Rican, Venezuelan, Cuban talent all working together. And it is incredibly interesting to see that dynamic, right? Because we have within our own community microaggressions and, colorism, and that's all that plays. And I see it, and sometimes, a lot of the folks are very polite. I was born here, so, I have to work with that, but it's really interesting. But we make it work, and we have to present a unified front, because when we come out here, everybody sees if we're not connected, we can't represent what could be. So many gems, mentorship for first generation professionals. I'm first generation. Without that, I don't know how I could have gotten to this place. And there's high rates of depression and anxiety for first generation professionals because they don't have an example in their family of how to get it done. And I was born in New York City and worked through corporate America. So I was able to see a lot of others. But if this DEI work, I think, looks like professionals that may not be communities of color identifying first generation professionals, first generation students that they can mentor in the Black community, in immigrant communities, so that they understand a little bit of how to get up there. And when they do have a hard time, just holding their hand. The last point I'll make is, please don't underestimate the importance of fun. Fun.
Yes, right.
We are tasked, the conversation, well, how do I market to the Hispanic community? We can have that conversation, but why don't you join me on one of the biggest Mexican festivals that we throw? After that, sitting when you're seeing a 15-piece band, trombones, elegant outfits, really cool crocodile boots, it was an education for me because I'm from Queens, and Puerto Rican and Dominican cultures are very strong. And Mexican cultures tend to be more silent. And there are a lot of folks that have more indigenous backgrounds. It's not the extrovert culture we are used to, but they are just as exciting, just as rich and beautiful. So just come out. If you want to party with us, I promise you will not forget it. We're coming. So fun.
Thank
Let's have
you.
fun.
Thank you so much. There's a lot of celebrating going on this weekend. Juneteenth, the Melanin Market right down the street here. And it is going to be huge. So other celebrations throughout the city. And I know that you all are invested in downtown, and we want to bring as many of these celebrations and educational events. We want life downtown. For Jacksonville to be the size city that it is, I think we really have we've been missing a vibrant downtown. So I'm glad to see that we have a room full of people who are committed to changing that. And part of changing that is to make downtown a welcoming place. And so it's all the parties, it's all the fun and excitement, but it's also the making downtown a place that is safe for us, and making downtown a place where I don't have to be reminded. I mean, I'm reminded because I live in a place called Jacksonville, and how y'all know how Jacksonville got its name, right? The history of our President Andrew Jackson, and I won't try to go into all that Andrew, the former president, represents, but there are a lot of the images, but the city council just voted not to remove the monuments, and I think that's part of creating a welcoming space. I notice these monuments that some people embrace. I notice Confederate flags on people's cars and in their yards and things. And for me, those are reminders, those are vestiges of slavery that I mentioned earlier. And I know there are a lot of varying opinions about those things. And I'll just say, I ask you to give it some more thought. If you are one of those people who might be on the fence about it, or one of those people who might be in support of maintaining those symbols, for whatever reason you have, part of my story that I'll share with you is that those symbols reflect a lot of pain and a lot of brutality in my history. And I want our people, all of you who are committed to making Jacksonville even better, and particularly downtown, even better than it already is, to know that part of what creates a barrier to really engaging in and appreciating the experience is when some of us are constantly reminded of those painful moments in our dark history. And it can overshadow the moments like the moment in June 19th, 1865, when enslaved Africans were finally made aware that a proclamation had been signed for their freedom. So that's just a portion of a story that I tell, and I know a lot of people who look like me and some who don't share that same part of the story. So continue opening your minds and hearts to other people's stories. Be willing to share your own story. Our friend stepped out of the room just for a moment, but for her to be willing to share her story and to share with passion, and I could hear some of the pain and hurt from being marginalized. I want to remain open to hearing that and doing everything that I can, including examining my own bag, to be better. It has been,
As I say, with that, unfortunately, it's time.
it has been a real pleasure to be with you today. Thank you. And continue asking, what if? Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Wynn. I know that most people in this room and those out in Zoom land could probably just sit and have these conversations, and maybe we can have another conversation offline at a different time, because it's intentional and purposeful, right? And that's what we need. So thank you so much. With that, Dr. Wynn did mention that the Mountain Market is this weekend, which is Juneteenth. Today, though, is James Weldon Johnson's birthday, which is very fitting because it's also Juneteenth weekend. So June 17th, James Weldon Johnson's birthday. He is the gentleman that wrote Lift Every Voice and Sing, which is the African-American national anthem. He's here from Jacksonville. He was principal at Historic Stanton back when African-American students could not be taught past the 8th grade. He said, screw that. He taught them anyway. I think we talked about this last time, and it became the first African-American high school in the state of Florida, which is fabulous. Today is his birthday. Historic Stanton is throwing a birthday party. So if you're not doing anything between 11 and 1, I would love for you to come join us at Historic Stanton, which is on Ashley Street, right next to the Claire White Mission. We're gonna have food trucks. We've got live music. It's just gonna be a celebration. It's gonna be a great way to kick off Juneteenth and Father's Day weekend. In addition to that, there's two other major, there's Mountain Market. There's something going on at Daly's. It is Father's Day this weekend. So if you have a dad or know a dad or need a dad, tell that person happy Father's Day. With that, we're gonna let Meg, do you have any chamber updates real quick?
Laura. This is really more just kind of from a housekeeping standpoint. So shout out to Kathy for handling registration for council events like this. As many of you know, the chamber has no shortage of communication that gets pushed out. Your best bet is to look on Wednesday morning at an email called Chamber Connection, and that's just a centralized digest of what's to come. If you ever have questions about registering for events or what to expect, see me, or you can see Kathy. If you're not sure if you have chamber login credentials, you probably do. You might have 75 of them over the 10 years that you've been involved. Please reach out to us. We're in the process of revamping a whole bunch of things from a technology standpoint, and we're excited about that. But in the short term, we're always happy to do some of that cleanup and make it easier for you guys to register in advance. So thank you for coming. Thank you for being members. And again, I'm Meg. You can see me or Kathy if you have questions.
You're welcome. All right, so quick. If you want to be a spotlight speaker, come see me. We need your input. There's cards on the table. We need your input. Do you have any ideas for us? Topics, speaker, general things? I know we sent out a survey, but a lot of people talked a lot about wanting, they were very happy with our programming, but we want to make sure that you guys know that we do, even though we love spending all the time trying to figure out who the best speakers are. We also really care about what you guys think. So if you want to write some thoughts down, please do. Get them to us. I think we're going to do 50-50 raffle. We want to roll for that?
Yes, I'm just going to very briefly mention the survey results. We'll go over more in detail at our July meeting. And as a reminder, everyone in this room is invited to come back for free to the next event since we botched breakfast. So we look forward to seeing you at a future breakfast. Kathy's cards are on each table, so feel free to take that with you, email her and let her know which downtown council event you'd like to come to in the coming months. So the only aha moment that I'm really going to share in regards to the survey is that in August, get ready, we are pushing our meeting time back by 1 hour. So those of you that were very excited about us even having this conversation, that means that you didn't have to get here at 7:30 this morning. You'll be getting here at 8:30. Our actual program will begin from 9 to 10. So that is in effect in August. So thank you for your feedback. We're really excited to sleep in as well. The other thing I will mention is we also heard loud and clear that you would like more networking within the group. And so please join us for Thursday, June 30th from 5:30 to 7:30. We're doing a networking social in partnership with the Jacksonville Bar Association at Ruby Beach Brewing, which is also downtown. So come out, let's get to know each other. Let's have more impactful conversations. And we look forward to seeing you there. And then again, I'll go over some of the other survey highlights, but please feel free to fill out those cards on your tables with additional topic or speaker ideas so that we can continue to provide you quality programming. And then let's do 50-50. $46. Yeah. You got your glasses this time so you can read it.
Great. All right, folks. Hopefully Frank gets his drinking money. 831104. Ooh. 4. Woo! Yeah. So just so everyone knows, Sean, unfortunately, once we move the time, won't be able to join us as often. So this is his penance or his retribution. You're gonna I'm paying you off, yes, and you're gonna come to all the socials, so it'll be fine. Okay, we're gonna do some coffee real quick. Okay, 8311058. 5858. Yeah, Chris. Chris, you always win something when you're with us. Okay, and then the other one picked 8311049. Woo! Very cool. Oh, and we got, what do we have? Oh, we got Frank's Nuts. Oh my God, hold on. Frank's Nuts. Frank's Nuts are spectacular. Since that gets recorded on Zoom, I'm sure that's great. 8310999. 99999. Frank? What? Oh, Bruce doesn't want Frank's Nuts. Okay, hold on. 8311035. You fabulous. You guys, with that, we've got our social. What? Oh, the book. Yep. Sorry, guys. Yes, the book. Oh, that was a typo on. Apologies. Yes, it is. That's a typo. And then we have that through the Osprey. Through Osprey. I can't pronounce it correctly. It's down on the table. 8311054. Oh, awesome. No. Laura put it in her bag. I did not. It was behind my bag, so I didn't spill coffee on it. Here you go. It was so that I didn't spill coffee on it. Y'all get off my, anyway. With that, you guys, we, June 30th, we'll see you. July 1st, it is canceled because it's Independence Day weekend. So happy 4th of July, happy Father's Day, happy Pride Month. For those of you that don't know, Jacksonville actually celebrates, Jacksonville, like as a community, hardcore pushes Pride Month in October. So we'll talk more about Pride Month locally in October. And happy Juneteenth and happy Friday, you guys. We are so happy to see you. We love you. We'll see y'all June 30th. My brain. That's why. That's totally fine. You know that's why that happens. I know. No, I know exactly. Where's the other mic? Do you have the other right there? Oh. I'm like, I think there were some squirmers in the room.